Hey everyone, Thyworm here, with an SSF Atlas tree I call my all-purpose Atlas tree. It is sort of self-explanatory and of course not suitable for all situations, but for most of them. For just blasting maps, this is my perfect Atlas tree. Let me properly introduce this tree, because this tree is the result of a lot of experimentation. Those who have been recently watching my PoE SSF content have no doubt noticed that I'm using mostly a different tree every time, and that is fine. I play a lot, I have the currency, there are no issues there. As I was experimenting with different strategies, I noticed I'm taking the same nodes repeatedly. And at some point, I had 3 Atlas passive trees, which only differed in about 20 or 30 points. When trees are so similar, there's not much advantage to having them in the first place. So I reconciled all of these 3 trees, taking generally good all-purpose nodes, which fit in tons of different strategies. And I'll be using this tree going forward when explaining more of the new scarabs or farming strategies that I come up with. If I would have to give the tree a name, it would be an ambush domination tree. Here is the philosophy of this Atlas tree. What I wanted more than anything out of this tree is something that allows me no-nonsense blasting maps. Elch and go, if you will. I just want a tree that always works whenever I want to run a bunch of maps while enjoying the endgame and my build. It's not supposed to be good at anything specific, but it has tons of synergies with tons of scarabs. However, if you want to farm, let's say, Blight or Breach, this isn't the tree to take, just so you know. There are a few things in terms of prerequisites you should be aware of. First, this is an endgame Atlas tree, so I'm assuming you have completed all of your maps, most if not all invitations, and have a somewhat decent build. Your goal should be to blast a bunch of maps and have fun doing so. If you're still heavily gearing and leveling your character, don't use this Atlas tree. Second, this Atlas tree scales really well with pack size and quantity, which means that ideally you are running 8 mod corrupted maps. Those are fairly easy to get this league with the new scarabs, but at least get high pack size and quantity on those maps to fully benefit from this tree. Let's talk about this all-purpose Atlas passive tree and the choices that I made. Starting with Nico. Our maps contain him 48% of the time, and when that is the case, he provides great buffs packed with energy, damage, max res and movement speed. I'm blocking a lot of league mechanics because the philosophy behind this Atlas tree is that if you want to farm specific league content, you should probably invest in a different tree. Only a few league mechanics are good without investment. Ritual is decent, but I'm blocking it anyway because it slows down the maps so much, and Delirium is also good, especially in the more linear maps. Blocking Heist doesn't provide many benefits, so I'm leaving it unblocked. I might run some Heist this league as well. As a side effect of all the blocking, you also block the scarabs of those league mechanics, leaving you with scarabs that synergize amazingly well with this particular tree. Then, ambush or strongboxes. We also put ambush on the map device, always. It is just too good. We are taking twice tempted for that extra box, but also for the nodes leading up to it. All these extra chances to spawn more monsters is what makes this tree so good. Strongboxes can spawn map monsters, including those that you put in using embers in the lantern. With gemlings or rogue exiles, this can get pretty nuts in terms of rewards. Secret compartments lets you reopen boxes multiple times, and tamper-proof increases the quality of the contents greatly. I'm also taking Vault of Mysteries, increasing the number of divination strongboxes and duplicating divination cards. I feel currency and maps are not critically important in SSF, you drop plenty of those, plus you need way less of them, normally speaking. But divination cards in SSF are incredibly powerful, so I am taking these nodes. Then, what is true for strongboxes is also true for shrines, plus it synergizes, a phrase you're going to hear a few times in this script. Supplication adds an additional shrine. Syncretism provides double buffs from shrines, which is amazing. Drawn to Power at first glance may not seem worth it until you realize that the monsters guarding the shrines are actually map monsters and once again synergize with the ones that you can put in the lantern. Those gemlings are now spawning a lot more all of a sudden for those juicy gems. I am also including all that glitters in the tree because that guarantees the 2 shrines plus sometimes in 10% of the cases a covetous shrine. These provide more item quantity and rarity for you, but also increases the damage that you're taking. There is more synergy, however. We are also taking Searing Exarch nodes, which spawn altars, which can duplicate all the rewards that we're dropping so far, meaning maps from the reopenable strongboxes and various rewards from all of the map monsters guarding the shrines and that are just in the map in general. It gets pretty nuts from time to time, especially in those maps which have a base high density of monsters. In other words, the maps you should be running. We're increasing pack size as well of these Searing Exarch influenced monsters, and you can increase pack sizes even more with Scarabs, which in turn spawns more altars, which is another multiplier to the loot. Then we spec into the fun part of this league, the All Flames and the Lantern. Imperial Wraiths provides higher Lantern modifiers, which is just more fun in the maps, mostly. Devout Pursuit increases those mods by another 30%. Eternal Torment and the nodes leading up to that spawn a ton of embers you can use on the Lantern, juicing the maps even more, which again is synergistic with everything we already talked about. As we have so many synergies, so many monsters, so much pack size, reopenable strongboxes and all of the other stuff going on, it makes sense to do a moderate investment in Scarabs. Skittering Swarms is very efficient in terms of node investment, for a total of 20% increased Scarabs. Amplified Artifacts makes rare monsters drop more Scarabs, which we can amplify by using Scarabs that increases the number of rares or adds modifiers to them. And Remarkable Relics makes you drop the less common and more interesting Scarabs. And then, to top it off, we're going ham on the map explicit modifiers. You should realize that this makes the maps much harder. This is why you only see me do tier 16 maps in the footage. If I run a tier 17 map with this tree and this build, I don't even make it past the first 2 monster packs. Increasing the explicit modifiers effect of maps makes your character incredibly weak and monsters incredibly strong. It's kind of a death sentence, honestly, but it's fun. So take these nodes if you are max level like me, or your character doesn't need to level anymore, because you likely won't. The nodes we're taking are all the small modifier nodes, plus mounting modifiers, plus chiseled perfection, leading to a whopping 62% increased map modifier effect. Finally, invasive adversaries adds difficult and rewarding monsters, and what I mostly noticed after taking this node is that I dropped a lot more fractured and synthesized items. That's anecdotal evidence, however. If you don't want to take these nodes, you can cut away quite a few of them and invest, for example, in more Scarab nodes or in Nico, so he spawns 100% of the time, making your life easier. This is once again not a leveling atlas, please be aware of that. In some maps you will likely use all 6 portals. The final node, completely optional but I feel incredibly useful, is Singular Focus. It ensures you only drop maps that you want. The cost you pay for that is that unique maps cannot drop anymore, like the Cortex, but I completed my invitations at this point and I will gladly pay that price. As I'm using this tree to blast maps, I want to make sure I am fully stocked on the maps that I enjoy running, and using this node I can do that. You will still drop tier 17 maps, by the way, those are not excluded. Finally, I would like to tell you about the different Scarabs that I've been running with this Atlas tree. I have run hundreds of maps, trying out different stacks of Scarabs every time, so that is batches of 20 maps each. First, of course, the ambush Scarabs are a prime candidate. Whether you add strongboxes, make them stronger, trigger more often or rarer, it all synergizes perfectly. Similarly, to no one's surprise, we have the Domination Scarabs. The regular one adds shrines, but you can also add unusual shrines, which is fun, as one of the unusual shrines is the Gloom Shrine, making the whole screen pop with purple explosions. I would not use the Scarab of Teachings, as you will likely not level using this Atlas tree. Neither would I use the Scarab of Terrors, because there's very little synergy with Atlas bosses. Divination Scarabs work well. 2 out of the 3 are incredibly rare, but the common Scarab is kind of worth putting in somewhat. The max is 2, but you absolutely see a difference. Because our maps have good pack size, it does work well. The same is true for Reliquary Scarabs to a lesser extent. It is only 200% increased with 2 Scarabs, which is noticeable, but unless you have run out of all other Scarabs for some reason, just 2 of these Scarabs won't get you very far. It seems to me that investing in pack size is the better option here, so you may as well vendor these using the 3-to-1 recipe. Cartography Scarabs can be used, but just due to the sheer pack size, we drop plenty of maps, and I'm never running out of maps at all. I tried several Cartography Scarabs, but I feel you should just use these on a specialized tree. I have done that. That is how I got all my maps that you see in the video. The 8 mod corrupted maps, and sometimes even with layers of delirium. I'll get you up to speed on this strategy and the tree once I'm happy with it and I'm done writing the script. Up next, the influencing scarabs. These add packs to the map, either Elder or Shaper packs, and those spawn tons of rares from all sorts of portals. The influencing Scarab of Hordes increases the pack size of these influenced monsters, and it also counts for the Searing Exarch, by the way. I wouldn't use the influencing Scarab of Conversion, as we have singular focus and most of these maps won't drop. You can remove singular focus and run it anyway, of course. The influenced scarabs work well with all those scarabs in the bottom left. The monstrous lineage increase magic pack size. The adversaries gives rare monster packs, which scales again with pack size, so this is no small feat. Adding clusters doesn't really scale with anything, but these clusters drop maps, scarabs and currency, so you can always throw in one of these. The Hunted Traders are monster packs which fight other monsters, hence the name. It's simply extra monsters in the map, it is good. The Scarab of Wisps, you see me running that here in this footage, and if you played last league, you know how strong this can be and how deadly. I wouldn't put in more than one personally, but it is undeniable that wisped up monsters drop a ton of loot. I'm running a few tests with this one currently, so stay tuned. The Radiant Storms I'm also about to test, but this summons Tempests, those storms, and if you stand in them, you are supposed to get quantity and rarity. You can mess around a bit with the Horned Scarabs. The Horned Scarabs of Nemesis is common and adds additional modifiers to the rare monsters, which synergizes with the Scarab drop chances that we have. Plus, more modifiers on monsters means more drops from those monsters. That is why the most difficult monsters tend to drop the best loot, like it should be. I wouldn't use the Tradition Scarab, there's no synergy, and for the same reason I wouldn't use the Pandemonium. We're not speccing into Atlas or map bosses at all. The other Horned Scarabs are so rare that I can't make solid recommendations, but I will be using this tree to test them out and share my insights as soon as I've found 20 of them and ran another batch of maps. And that's it for the video. I hope you try out this strategy and the Atlas tree, let me know what you think. Also, let me know if you have any suggestions. Subscribe and like for more PoE SSF content. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.